Welcome back, my students, to another episode of Comic Class, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be taking a look at Nick Spencer's The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 10. Now, I will only be covering the chapters that are regarding the Return of the Green Goblin story arc. I'm not going to be talking about the other two issues that are included in this book, because they're kind of like their own little mini theme, like mini stories. There's about like 3 of them, I think, but we're not going to be talking about those. We're mainly just going to talk about the main content of this volume, and yeah, that regards the story by Nick Spencer. Without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the video. So the story pretty much starts off with Spider-Man taking on the henchmen of the Sin Eater, the people that he gave powers to in the last volume. Now, while Spider-Man's doing this, basically we get to see that the Sin Eater basically had the Juggernaut placed in a vault in Ravencroft, and basically has taken a shot at his chest to take his power and make it his own. As we saw in the last volume, the Sin Eater has been given this ability to kind of take whoever's ability that he has just killed, kind of like Made Man from the Made Man game series. But yeah, so after this, we get to see that Spider-Man is getting overwhelmed by how many people he's having to take on at once, and this leads him to let Norman Osborn actually get to his Goblin serum and basically become the Green Goblin once again. And yeah, it's a really cool scene. Seeing Spider-Man and the Green Goblin taking on the henchmen of the Sin Eater. Now, while this is happening, basically, the Green Goblin, acts in character and basically is going to kill one of the Sin Eater's henchmen whenever Spider-Man tells him to stop. Basically, Green Goblin uses one of his pumpkin bombs to basically try to disintegrate one of the henchmen, and this has shown that they're actually getting regeneration. So it's kind of hard to say what exactly is happening to his henchmen, if they're even really human anymore, but I'm pretty sure that will get revealed sometime in the future. Now, after this, we get to see that while they're taking on basically the Sin Eater's henchmen, that the Order of the Web, basically Spider-Man's teammates, they're basically debating on what they should do and they should step in to save Spider-Man from his future fate, which is something that they can see happening in a vision, but they don't know exactly what they're going to do at this moment, and they're deciding to wait it out and see what happens. Now, after this, we get to see that the Sin Eater basically reveals himself and shows that he has actually absorbed the power of the Juggernaut, and basically has become like a Juggernaut version of the Sin Eater. He's a very huge dude. You can see the difference in their size based off the gun that he's holding, and yeah, it looks pretty small in comparison to how he used to. Now, after this, we get to see that Spider-Man and the Green Goblin basically team up to fight against this Juggernaut version of the Sin Eater. And they basically give everything they have towards him in a physical confrontation, trying to use their physical strength, because the Green Goblin is actually pretty strong as well due to the Goblin formula. And yeah, but nothing they do kind of has any effect on the Sin Eater Juggernaut. And basically this leads the Green Goblin and Spider-Man to take him on with all different types of artillery that Norman had planted into Ravencroft. This leads the whole building to come crashing down, at least part of it. Now, Spider-Man and, the Green Goblin basically are taking on the Juggernaut Sin Eater, and basically are trying just different tactics, but they aren't really working well together. Eventually, Spider-Man brings down the entire portion of the building that they're under, and basically tries to crush the Sin Eater. This is where we're shown the Order of the Web basically still talking about what exactly they're going to need to do with Gwen Stacy, basically saying that Spider-Man talked to her beforehand and doesn't know exactly what action they should take, and that she does want them to do one more vote to see if they should help Spider-Man out or not, or wait it out. But this is where we get to see that Green Goblin basically saves Spider-Man, gets him out from under the rubble, and shows him that, he too can show compassion in some sort of way, and yeah, that now their debt has been paid, because Spider-Man actually saved Norman in a long story arc from a long time ago, whenever he had first became the Green Goblin. So yeah, we got to see a little throwback to that. After this, we get to see that Norman and Spider-Man basically arrived to some type of underground base that Norman had created. This is where they take on the Sin Eater once again, and it's a really cool fight scene where we get to see Spider-Man and the Green Goblin actually learning how to work together. And eventually they have this really cool scene where Spider-Man uses one of the Goblin's pumpkin bombs, puts them all together to make some type of giant explosion. But none of it's really going to take down the power of the Juggernaut. So Spider-Man comes up with this plan to liquefy the ground and basically has Norman use the technology that he has created to do this feat. So Norman actually does manage to pull it off, and the ground underneath Spider-Man and the Juggernaut Sin Eater basically liquefies and buries him basically under the liquid. Spider-Man basically is getting buried as well, and he asks Norman for help. So Norman reveals that he's double-crossing him, basically says he's going to kill Spider-Man. But before he can do so, Gwen Stacy and the rest of the Word of the Web show up, and they save Spider-Man and basically bring the Green Goblin in with them to take him to jail. Now, we get to see the Green Goblin and Spider-Man having their interaction, and basically the Green Goblin talking to Gwen Stacy, and he even states to Spider-Man that he's actually going to kill this version of Gwen again just for the fun of it, and because he wants to take out all of these people that Spider-Man has learned to love and know. So it's really cool to see the Green Goblin is still the character that we all know and love. And hopefully we get to see him do some pretty messed up stuff in the future. But this leads Spider-Man to kind of lose control and open the port of the vehicle and basically knock and punch Norman out into the liquefied goo, and basically leaving him there to die from the Sin Eater when the Sin Eater comes out of the liquid himself. But we'll see what happens and what the fate of the Green Goblin is in the next volume, Last Remains. But yeah, so basically Spider-Man, Spider-Woman tells him that what did he do, that he just made the same choice, even though Spider-Man says he made a different choice. It's all going to lead to the same path, and we'll see what happens in The Last Remains. After this, we get the final panel in the story arc / volume with Kindred basically saying that they never stay buried, the people that died because of Spider-Man. And yeah, this gives us a little clue that the person Kindred is possibly someone that had died in the past. And yeah, so that was volume 10, The Return of the Green Goblin. And yeah, it was a pretty good story arc / volume. I really enjoyed it. There wasn't a lot to talk about because it was mainly just an action arc. There was a lot of action in it. It wasn't very story based. Last Remains is a story that will have some action and a lot of story. So, Nick Spencer kind of does that. Some arts have a lot of action, some arts have a lot of story, some of them have both. But each one kind of plays into whatever he's trying to tell, what type of narrative. And this narrative was basically just to get the end of the Sin Eater. It was kind of like, in a way, the second half of the Sin Eater arc, the conclusion. So it made sense they would have a lot of action. And not a lot of story progression. But Kindred at the end gives a huge hint that it's going to be somebody from Spider-Man's past, and it definitely is. I have finished Last Remains story arc last night, so I do know who it is, but I will have that video out probably tomorrow. But yeah, overall, Volume 10 is really good. It's actually one of my favorite volumes. Ever since, the 2099 story arc, which was Volume 7, I believe, or Volume 8. No, Volume 7, I think. Each arc has been really good, with the exception of maybe Volume 8 being a little, okay-ish. Volume 9 and Volume 10 are awesome. So overall, it was a really good story. I really enjoyed it, and I will recommend you go check it out. As always, link will be in the description down below. Check it out on Comixology and buy it legally. Nick Spencer's on a roll, and Last Remains is a great arc as well, and I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow. But till next time, guys, God bless you, and until the next lesson, keep on reading.
I am who I'm meant to be. I am who I'm meant to be. Over and out again. My future needed clarity, so I could see how you